Hi, good morning everybody. It's Mr. Rader here for a tutorial on AP World History on the historical thinking skill of periodization. We're going to look at periodization as a concept and as a framework for organizing historical events that have occurred in the past. So in front of you is one example of periodization. And if you notice, this organizational framework looks at natural resources, starting from the Stone Age and reaching all the way down to the Silicon Age with computer technology. Now the question becomes, how is periodization structured? How is it organized? And what are the choices that are being made by historians and other social scientists when they come up with this idea of periodization? This is another example. This would be looking at periodization through the lens of geology or a geologic view of world history. If you notice in this particular example, there are various epochs, starting with our most recent, the Holocene epoch, and tracing all the way back through to the oldest rocks, over hundreds of millions, if not billions of years in its organizational schema. So when we think about periodization, it allows us to ask various kinds of questions. So for example, some historians look at the 20th century as a century of total warfare. And it's actually one of the ways in which the College Board organizes its 9 units of study in the AP curriculum. But if we look at the second bullet point, air pollution in the 20th century has killed more people than the world wars combined. He asks, quote, what does this say about how we should organize the 20th century? So an environmental historian might look at the 20th century as a century relegated to the use of fossil fuels, and can use fossil fuels as a very clear starting point for ushering in a new age of world history. So when we think about periodization, it can't be something as simple as today is Tuesday, tomorrow will be Wednesday, the next day will be Thursday. There's no real change between those days. However, if we pick a particular marker and can clearly explain how there has been a major shift in the way in which things have been done, or a new invention or a new idea that forever revolutionizes people's lives, that could be a good example of periodization. So on this slide, we see the Industrial Revolution broken into four clearly definable periods in terms of understanding industrialization. So in many high school courses at the introductory level, it's taught as one monolith, just an industrial revolution. Human beings went from making goods by machine as opposed to making them by hand. Well, that only gives us one layer of the puzzle. So in the College Board version of AP World History, they look at the Industrial Revolution in two very concrete stages: an industrial revolution in the 18th century and a revolution in the 19th century, with the particular use of electricity as a form of energy consumption. However, there have been other social scientists and computer scientists who have identified a third period of industrialization and a fourth period of industrialization. I'd like you to keep this in mind when approaching the periodization article by Peter Stearns, and when you go through the activity today and try to periodize the Second World War. So, for example, in a U.S. history course, World War II is 1941, December 7th, with the attack on Pearl Harbor, to May 7th, with the end of the war in Europe, to August 15th, with the signing of the treaty to end the Second World War in Japan, following the bombings of Hiroshima on August 6th and Nagasaki on August 9th. But however, if we were to look at it from a European framework, it would be September 1st, 1939, with the German invasion of Poland. Likewise, if we were to look at the Second World War from the Japanese or the Chinese perspective, we would have to go all the way back to 1931. Now, I can see that I'm running out of time, so I wish you all a good day, and stay tuned for the next content review video.